All right,
Took it back
everybody,
into the
it is recording and it is 4, so we'll go ahead and get started.
do this.
So we can get through these 4 items. Welcome to the Community Planning and Transportation Committee meeting for Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. And we do have 4 items, and the first one is a presentation of the December Public Transit Report. We got Taylor here to go over that with us.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Taylor Johnson, the Transit and Parking Program Manager. Going through the memo, as always, we did make an update on one of our new cutaways. Unfortunately, it was involved in an accident a few months ago, and the other involved party did not have insurance. So you're going to see an item on your council meeting next week to replace that unit. It was basically a total loss. It was hit at a high speed head on, and it would have cost about 50% of the vehicle to get to fix it, and that probably wasn't going to be a good idea. So unfortunately, because it was so new, and because we're not getting any insurance proceeds and the federal funds that were used with it, it's going to be city dollars that'll have to completely replace it. So that's what you're going to see on your council meeting next Tuesday, is to authorize us to move money around and fund that purchase if you agree with it. It's going to be about $192,000. It was $181, I think, that we paid for it a year ago. So just wanted to update you on that. One of our
What's the recourse?
for the
that?
driver.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that's a criminal offense. They'll lose their license, I guess, all that.
Yeah, I haven't really dived into what happened to the driver. I just know that we're not getting any funding for the vehicle replacement, unfortunately. So,
wow.
Anyway, they were being pursued. They were already on the.
Oh,
So it was just a bad situation all around.
they're being chased by the police?
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the one where the Embark driver was parked, waiting, Embark Plus, while waiting for their next assignment. They were running from the police. They came around the corner, lost control, and literally we've got the camera footage of them just ramming the vehicle. There are some remedies we can try to go through with legal, but it's such a long shot on this. So we, as you know, Taylor's saying, if we don't replace this bus, we will be giving the money back to the Fed. So
yeah.
we'd rather just replace the bus.
Yeah,
Councilman No Fire.
that was good to know. I was actually gonna start off with that part. The other question I asked, say they did have insurance, does that all pay up to what their insurance pays out, and then we still have to fork over the rest?
So it depends on how much we would get from the insurance proceeds, but we would take that money and apply it to replacing the vehicle or fixing it, either way. But if it was a replacement, all the feds care about is, hey, we gave you X amount of dollars for this vehicle, and then we calculate how much federal share is left in it over the useful life remaining, and that's how much they would want to ensure that it's either put back into a new vehicle or the city would give back to the feds. Does that make sense? So if it's a 12-year bus, which this wasn't, and it got hit when it was 7 years useful life left, you would calculate how much is left on that federal share, whatever we got for it.
Councilman Hayden.
So is there a criminal investigation against the person right now? That's all.
I haven't followed up with PD about that. Like I said, I was just mostly concerned about the vehicle replacement and the funding for that. But
Do we have a PD case number?
yes.
Okay, I was just curious if that footage was available to show what happened, if that's something that we could see to explain.
We can follow up with PD and legal, but
Yeah.
for now, we just need to get moving on this replacement, and we can continue
I
that.
think along
as
with
we
that
move
though,
forward.
having the whole story play out at least gives a broader generalization over, hey, we followed this all the way through as far as we could, so now we're having to have an ask, and
Yep.
stuff also,
Don't wanna
just for the general
jeopardize-
public.
Yeah, I don't wanna jeopardize the case if there is
Yeah,
one in any
sure.
way, but just to be able to better explain $192,000 like magically having to go.
Councilman Bruce.
I just don't know. How does that play out? Is it a criminal? Is it a criminal? Still,
We'll have to.
Driving without insurance.
Depends on what he was running
Yeah, we'll
for,
have to get
probably.
Well, I'm just thinking about the court of record. So
I guess he was
an
running from
individual
the
that
police too.
You know, it depends what he's running for.
Yeah, if it
there's
was,
no history of it, so there's no deterrent, and it
Yeah.
can't happen again.
if if it was a municipal charge, then it wouldn't be on court of record, I don't think.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it's probably a felony charge, so he might not be working, him or her might not be working for a while. But also, one of the charges was also driving without insurance, so, that you'd be looking at going,
Impounding.
getting either restitution or,
And they
going
would
after
have
the
tacked
police.
on, felony damage over X amount of money as part of that probably too, and everything that they did to him also.
So unfortunate situation,
Yeah.
but
It was-
there's more information in the staff report with that agenda item. There's a little blurb here in your memo, but I just wanted to go over that before you saw that next Tuesday.
Thank you for that.
That might be in the report too, I can't remember.
It should be, it will be.
Also next Tuesday, going to the second page of the memo at the top for the Central Oklahoma Long Range Transit Plan. ACOG and and Embark felt like it would be good for all three of the transit agency cities to receive the plan. It's not that you're approving it, but every city is saying, hey, we acknowledge it, we're receiving it. It's been approved by ACOG. That was the only body that needed to approve it. We participated in it. We came to council 3 times last year and gave updates, or Embark and ACOG did. But just want to give you a heads up on that as well. And that'll kind of be the closing of that for this committee, unless there's an update that they're working on a recommendation that we need to come back to council on from that plan. So. And then I think I'll move over to the ridership, which again, we're not seeing as great of gains as we did the previous year, but this past December was up a little bit. On the fixed route side, we had 43,899 compared to 38,424. And then also on the plus ridership, it was 2,000 even, which is interesting. That was even that way, compared to 1,818 in last December. I think that is a little bit attributable to the weather. We had a great month of December with pretty good weather, people getting out and about. You typically see the ridership decline in the winter months because people just don't want to take as many trips. Mm-hmm. So that probably played a factor into it. And we'll see how January comes about with the weather in February as it ramps up some. But as you can see, the routes on Monday through Friday were up. Interestingly, the Saturday routes were down a little bit, but overall still a good month for ridership on the fixed route and paratransit service. And especially if you look at the bikes, they added mobility. They were up almost double. It was 1,460 for bikes that were used on the fixed route service compared to 701 last December. So again, probably a little bit to do with the better weather, but it's good to see that riders are using those devices such as bikes to extend the reach of their trip. The transit can't go everywhere. So
Fixed route Monday through Friday is up 17%. And
Correct.
fixed route Saturday, it says 13.5%. But
yeah, I think that was a
I'm gonna say,
mistype on the table.
and then plus is up 10%.
Right.
Well, maybe not because it shows both those being down.
Well, plus is up 2,000 compared to 18, yeah.
All right.
And then for Norman On Demand, which is the more red report at the tail end of the memo, we are seeing our key performance indicators still do better with the decrease in demand we've been talking about the last couple months. We've been able to make sure that those wait times and walking distances are doing well with where we wanted to be, our targets. But the number of riders in December were about 1,800 compared to about 3,400 last year. So still that decrease in demand that we've been talking about the last few months, which is great on one hand because we're seeing a decrease in the cost of the service as well, because it is that demand service that you put the hours out that you need to once you realize that there is a decline in demand. So we are seeing a little bit of savings there that hopefully will help out with this year's budget. Happy to answer any more questions about transit or anything in the report.
Sorry.
I have one from slide 8, I believe is what it was, and everything where showed that we had 20 denied rides so far for 2026 compared to 4 from 2025. I know it gives that little blurb in there about how we might not really have that much information over why, but do we know what types we're seeing?
Is it this, the slide, the page number 5? Is that what you said?
On the slide number,
Oh,
it
yeah,
was slide number 8.
8, I see that, yeah.
Yeah. On there where it was talking about that 20 denied there and the 4 and the other, I just seen what's a trend or what are we seeing? Do we have one specific things that's keeping people denied overall or?
You know, I'd have to go back and look at the denied trip specifically, and I can.
And I'm
get
on
back
one,
to
because if
you,
it,
but,
you know, the type of clients that I serve, if it's a trend and a reason, then I'd love that information so I can
Yeah.
try to fix it on the hospitals and if we can help somebody get that, you know.
Yeah. No, we could definitely look into that and make sure that we're doing everything we can possible to avoid those denied
Yeah.
rides.
Any other transit comments, questions? Everything at the transit center going smoothly.
Smooth as it can
We
be.
got everything replaced, or the concrete, the drive-through.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that
so
stuff.
the operations is going really well. We haven't had any issues with the concrete. No news. That's been a great addition. Obviously, we have security there for a reason. There's issues that happen. Majority of them, honestly, are smoking complaints, and there's really not a good fix for that. But yeah, it's going fairly well, I think. Hopefully, you guys aren't hearing too much, and if you are, please pass those along so we can help alleviate that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Taylor.
All right, thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is a project update and discussion of the Access Oklahoma East-West Corridor. And so, we talked to staff about providing, semi-regular updates when there's information available about, what the OTA is doing and what their progress is on their plans and all that stuff, so. I think staff's got some info to talk to us about.
Yeah.
To talk to us about.
As the mayor said, we wanted to start coming to you and just keeping information as fresh as we can and keep you as updated as we can. And just be really transparent with what we're hearing and what we're getting from our partners at the Turnpike. There we go. So I've got to say, we had the holidays in there, so there wasn't a whole lot of new information, but we've got a few things that's worth discussing. As we discussed at our last meeting, OTA did award that contract to go over the river between Newcastle and the city of Norman. That'll be extending past 72nd Street, so it will be in the right-of-way or adjacent to the right-of-way of the city of Norman. So we're going to start seeing things happening in Norman on the east-west connector. Expecting that to begin in February, maybe early March. We have gotten notice of a pre-work in mid-February, so that's moving along pretty quick. That's going to be a pretty big project. It's going to be a very large bridge structure. They're going to be working on that for a while. And then also, if anybody is looking in the area, there was a detention pond kind of northwest of 48th and Indian Hills that is being filled and being drained and filled at this time. And that's part of the OTA work. They actually let that at the same time. They're already doing that work. So we got ongoing work on that. We just kind of wanted to show what the east-west connector, just remind everybody what it looks like here. We're uncertain of the time frame pretty much from I-35 on, exactly what will be happening. Just kind of want to remind everybody that their goal and what they're telling us will occur is that there will be traffic between Newcastle and I-35 by the end of 2027. If you do that math, it's really quick. So that's a lot of work to be done in really a relatively short time frame when we look at the projects that are being done there. I don't know that means it's going to be 4 lanes and completed, but there will be cars going in 2 directions is what their goal is. Just kind of a little reminder just to look at kind of what our real focus at the moment is because of our projects on 36th Avenue Northwest. They're planning on going out to bid on that turnpike from Santa Fe, 48th. I keep trying to get them to use our names, but they won't. They won't use Oklahoma City names. to 36th Avenue. Expecting that to go out to bid in July, so it'll be awarded in August as shown here. And then the Turnpike Bridge over 36, probably going to be towards the end of this year. And then we also have 36 to the railroad. It'll be out past that, probably into 2027. I can also share slides if you'd like us to. So this is information that we go onto their board agenda, their commission agenda, and we download what their schedule is for their bid lettings. When you see that word letting, think bid. It means the same thing. And this is what we pulled off that we think impacts us in the next year. Again, we already talked about that interchange at 60th. We could be going out in June. So probably add about 3 months to that is when we expect start of project. So we're looking into the fall of seeing 60th Avenue Northwest starting to be having construction at that location. And then they'll start working between 48th and 36th. I'll be putting that out in July. So about a month behind that, we're going to see a lot of construction start there. And then they're proposing to go out in September for the bridge and approaches at 48th Avenue. So now it's all starting to tie together. We're going to start seeing pieces really start to work together. And then in October, they will bid the second part of the 48 to 36. So they're going to bid the earthwork and the drainage first, then they're going to bid the paving of that location. So it's going to be 2 bids. It's going to look pretty seamless though by the time it's all done. And then in November, they're going to go out to bid for that bridge over 36th Avenue. So there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of motion, a lot of action. We're going to be seeing a lot of work starting out there in the next year. I would like to tell everybody it's going to be seamless and we're not going to know anything's going on. It's going to make that area of Norman hard to travel. There's going to be a lot of work, a lot of movement. We'll do everything we can to get updates and keep everybody informed, do PSAs as often as we can to get the information out there and try to help our citizens be able to negotiate all this to the best of our ability. There are coordination meetings. There's a meeting next week that's between the county, Moore, and Norman, and the Turnpike. And we'll be at that to hear if there's any new updates, and we'll share any information we get from that meeting in February. And we are still coordinating with them on what at 36 can be done and what overlaps there are. So we'll be bringing more information as we get more on that to council, to this committee, to be able to discuss, to keep you guys updated on that also. Kind of got ahead of myself there with the 36 coordination. Really, there's not a lot of changes from the last meeting. They need the drainage structure that would go south for about 3/4 of a mile. That's draining the area that will be north and west of the Turnpike, that is City of Norman. So there's coordination on how we accomplish that. Their numbers show a little bit bigger box than what we had in our computations on 36th Avenue Northwest project. They need it, they're going to be ahead of us. So we're trying to figure out how that works and how that will coordinate, and we'll keep you informed of that. And then also, we don't know if there's going to be some overflow and need to do some of the work on 36 in that same area at the same time. That continues to be a discussion point, but we'll continue to work on that. And in a few minutes, I will update you on grants, but we did get a large grant for this roadway, which is just complicating it further, to be honest, but in a good way. It's a problem I like having at the moment instead of the previous problems that we had of not knowing how to fund this project. So I would like to tell you have all the answers. We don't. We have a lot of questions, but we'll be fleshing those out quickly and we'll keep you apprised. It's really all I had. If anybody has any questions, I will answer anything I know.
Yes, so we are getting an award from the feds on 36 widening?
Yes, and that will be the last item. I will bring you all up to date on that. The last item on our agenda is going to update you on all of our grants and where we're at on all those.
And then the grant is, do you know, how much is that for?
$25 million.
Oh, okay. And when you say it's complicating things, how does that, is it just like when you get the money versus when the work is happening?
A lot of it's timing issues. When are we going to get it? We've got, obviously, this is a federal grant. It's not through ACOG and Oklahoma Department of Transportation like we normally get them. We're working directly with the Federal Highway Administration and U.S. Department of Transportation. This is the first grant we've gotten of this size. We're very excited. I don't want to steal all my thunder for later, but it does add some complications as far as timing goes, receiving those funds in coordination of when the Turnpike needs to be able to be moving forward with what they need. And how does that work? Can we utilize part of what they do as matching in our project? We don't know yet. Do they just reduce the size of our project and that reduces what? There's just so many questions that we have right now. We actually are just waiting to get our direct contact with FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, so that we can ask these questions and find out more. We just don't know right now, so.
And then, with needing to explore agreement options, what does that look like? I know you are gonna have that multi-agency meeting and that'll probably help, but are we talking a resolution or a contract?
So it'd be very similar to what we have to do with ODOT. If you think about it, we come to you and we get a resolution to do a project. And we usually bring it before we do the application, so that's part of our application process, so it doesn't feel the same. And then we come back later with a contract. And it'd be a similar type of process here where there would be probably a project agreement up front that says, this is our framework, and then there would be an actual contract later if there needed to be one.
And then, so work is expected around fall to start?
Yes, on the Turnpike.
So
Over
maybe-
36.
Between 36th and 48th, and then probably later in the year into the first of next year for the bridge over 36.
So we could see a resolution by summer or early fall?
It could be sooner than that.
Okay.
Like I say, this grant has changed the dynamic in a lot of ways, and without having the answers on the grant, it's hard to make a lot of decisions right now. We're hoping, we have our contact with FHWA. We just don't have the date that we're gonna get to start that communication. We did have the first just general meeting with all the grant recipients across the US today. So that's step one, and within the next couple of weeks, we expect to be able to move forward into step two, which is the one-on-one, where we can actually start playing the what-if scenarios that we have in play and trying to figure out what we do. And really, my goal is what's gonna be best for Norman. How do we leverage all of our opportunities the best to decrease what our responsibilities are on the project? And that's the moving piece that I don't know today that I'm really working hard on.
Okay.
And staff. It's not me, it's me and staff. It's not a one-man show.
I appreciate the kind of outlook on a timeline-ish, so, thank you.
Councilmember No Fire?
So when you say resolution, you're talking about a resolution between the city and OTA essentially, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would it look like if that didn't happen?
I don't know.
I'm just curious, just
Yeah,
so we have an idea.
I don't really have a direct answer to that. You know, I just don't know.
Okay.
We haven't really approached it from that way yet. I do know that the discussions that we've had would not be what was brought prior. It would be much reduced, and I've seen what the agreement with Oklahoma City looks like, and it does not resemble what we saw before. It's much more pared down. It's very clean. It would be very specific to this and this location. But that's to be seen, and if it even becomes necessary.
Councilmember Hinkle?
I just wanted to go back to the grant award. I know we're gonna talk about it again later, and I know that it's not all that goes into this, but having been to Washington DC with Mayor Holman and Councilwoman Grant a couple of times, talked about this with the Chamber of Commerce, and to actually see some fruit potentially come from that is a really rewarding kind of thing. And what are we gonna talk about next time we go to DC?
Oh, I've got ideas.
Okay, good. Good.
Ready to get that one off
Yeah.
the agenda.
Agreed.
Never talk about it. Okay. All right, any other comments or questions about this item? All right. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate the update and look forward to the next update on what's going on. But they are starting construction on that bridge in the middle of the river next month. Is that
I would expect by the end of February, if not the end of February, the very first part of March.
connecting Newcastle to
Mm-hmm.
I-44 to I-35 is what they're.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3, which is a discussion regarding streetscape designs for different commercial districts. And, yeah, we've got quite a few slides to go over on that one, so I'll let you guys go, and then we can just go with questions from there.
Thank you, Mayor. Megan and I are going to talk about streetscapes, and this was a requested item. We didn't have a lot of directions, so we'll present what we have and be glad to answer questions and include other staff as needed for the presentation.
Okay, I'm Megan Phelan, I'm park planner. We wanted to start off with just a quick review of our philosophical approach to streetscape design. So we want to design with best practices in mind, with a focus on the idea of a walkable and bikeable city. And so this diagram is kind of a good way to zoom out and look at like what is a complete streets. Complete streets design approach creates roads that are safe and accessible for all users. So with our new projects being installed, Porter Avenue Streetscape, Gray Street two-way conversion, and also the Main Street Median project, we are modeling future projects and thinking through these elements. So sidewalks, travel lanes, transit, and bike lanes, and also the planted areas.
Can you go back to that one real quick? So an example though of what I kind of want us to think about when it comes to this is, look how many lanes that someone trying to make that crosswalk has to walk in front of. So that's a complete street, that's supposed to be friendly. But you've got to cross over 6 lanes of traffic, 2 bike lanes, so to get from one side to the other. And so imagine that little slice of median coming out further and there being a place for pedestrians to. It exists on Main Street right now, Main Street and 24th. The median goes all the way out and the crosswalk goes through it. So a pedestrian doesn't have to try, even though if you get stuck in that middle, there's not another thing, and there's not a light to push, but you don't have to try to cross 10 lanes all at once. If you can't make it, you've got that little center thing, which may not be the most comfortable. But thinking about those things, or on the curves, those being bumped in closer, narrowing the distance basically that pedestrians have to walk in between where possible. So those are one of the reasons I want to talk about this issue is so we could talk about these examples and see what we have in Norman and what we might be able to improve on. Thank you.
This is kind of zooming in a little bit, but looking at some green space buffers, furniture, bike racks, having a pedestrian zone that's wide enough for multiple people and people with different abilities to walk safely and comfortably. That, green space, we have a couple of inspiration images at the end that show different ways of doing it. It's a really nice way to create a buffer between the traffic and the pedestrian zones. And then also the frontage zone for the, basically functions as an extension of the building. And then zooming in again, just the idea of humans walking and biking and, feeling comfortable accessing sidewalks and roads and, getting places that when you're not in your car.
So we're going to talk about 3 projects, 2 that are completed, 1 that's under construction, and we'll start with Gray Street. Within the next few months, that's going to start to look quite a bit better than it does today. But basically, the streetscape items that we've included on this project include, like the intersections, they're going to have stamped colored asphalt to better delineate and to look better. lots of plant materials in the various islands. We're trying to use more drought resistant, less water type plants. These are all still being irrigated, but hopefully at a lesser level than what we've done in the past. There'll be street furniture with some benches, some trash cans, decorative lighting, decorative signals, and then street trees at select locations.
Councilmember Green.
I had a question about the position of the benches, facing buildings rather than streets, and I was just curious if there's a design reason for that.
Well, I think it's because where the sidewalks are, they're up against the right of way, so you have to put them in the parking area, basically, or in the grassed area between the roadway and the sidewalk, and then you want them to be able to set from the paved area. So that's what drives that in most cases.
And then, was there extra money to do the streetscaping for Gray Street?
Actually, I probably should have mentioned that earlier. So this project was primarily to go from one-way to two-way, and which changed the parking and all that. And this was added at a later date at request of council. And so luckily, I believe this was going to be a 100% city-funded project, but we were able to go out and secure federal funds, which enabled us to incorporate the streetscape into this and still stay within our 2019 bond budget.
Okay, I appreciate the clarity on that, since for a second it looked like we might not get it.
Right.
Councilmember Gansberry.
As we do more of these benches ideas, and everything in different projects, has the city thought about trying a program where you can have a in memory of and have residents that basically, for a certain price, put a plaque on the
I know
on
there
the
are
seat or
some
whatever,
around.
to kind of recognize somebody, maybe make some money back that way also?
There are some around. I know across from the library, there's one that one of our actually coworkers, he retired today, his family did. So yeah, that can happen. Actually, because of what's going on with the unhoused and that area and everything, we've actually had requests to remove a lot of the benches away from certain properties. So we're being sensitive to that.
Yeah.
We're adding the center median so people can't lay on them as quite as easily and things. But that is one thing we're addressing on our projects. So Porter Streetscape recently completed. The landscaping is starting to really come in on that project. I think this summer it's really gonna look nice. Of course, we have some of these markers for the main intersections that I think are a nice touch on this particular project. We upgraded the bus stop on this project to just look a little bit nicer than some of the other areas. This one was a very challenging project just because we have a small amount of right-of-way. We ended up adding some planters along the edges that have been a little bit controversial, but that was kind of where we were directed to go just because there was not enough areas to put some of the various plants. And I guess we'll see how that plays out and learn from it on this project, decide if we want to do that in future projects or take them out.
So some of these are city maintained, and I know that we worked along Porter with some of the businesses that were more involved for planter styles that they wanted. How does that work on the maintenance of the ones that those business owners wanted?
I think right now the city's maintaining everything regardless of what they requested in front of their houses or their businesses. And that is one thing that we're gonna actually talk about, I think, in a little bit, but the city pays a lot for maintenance. And so there's things we wanna start doing to help with that and maybe get some ownership from the various businesses to help with, picking up trash, maybe pulling a few weeds here and there, letting us.
Be good to revisit a downtown bid?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good to hear.
And with the planters, I know it's winter time and everything's dead, but how are they holding up functionally? Do we know?
I don't think there's been any issues related to that.
No,
And-
they're good, and everything along Porter, we hire a contractor, same one that does a lot of our mowing around town, and they go through there and pick up trash and weeds, weeds, they go out there about once a month, and all of those planters have irrigation, so they're doing pretty good. We haven't had any or noticed anything, that needs maintenance or, so they're being maintained pretty well and, not getting messed with too much.
The kind of only negative thing about them really is some of them, the sidewalk is narrow and they're on the inside of the sidewalk and not the outside. So people, walkers or people in a wheelchair, are forced to go closer to the street to go around them. So the pedestrian is buffering the planter boxes from the traffic, and it should be the other way. I'd rather the planter box get hit by a car than a person, And Porter, the traffic moves quickly. It's narrow lanes, which is good, but it does move quickly, and a big truck has its big wide mirror hanging out. There's not a lot of room to move, and the planters take up space on very narrow sections of the sidewalk, and that's been my only criticism of them. And then just wondering, how long are they going to keep working, and do we have to dig up the sidewalk to fix them if they stop working, and
I think
that
the
type of
irrigation
stuff.
is all on the backside, so it shouldn't be too much to do any repairs there, but we'll continue to monitor and,
Yeah. And that's something I just want us to be conscious about in the future, is that we should never design a streetscape where the people are buffering the parking or the planter boxes from the traffic. And that's a situation we have on Porter right now. We switched the street parking around, so the sidewalk is buffering the traffic from the parking, when the parking should be buffering the people from the traffic, like we have on Main Street and Gray Street and Campus Corner. And so I know Porter was designed when it was still a highway, and removing the street parking was a way to ensure that traffic could flow better through there. But now it's like, it's not a pleasant way to walk, even though it's a much improved environment than it was before. It has continuous ADA sidewalks, which it did not have before. It has lighting that's continuous and all works throughout the whole corridor, which it didn't have before. So there's a lot of improvements. I don't want to discount any of that, but it was designed when it was a highway. And removing the street parking, to me, has been one of the biggest regrets of mine, that I didn't push for changing that before we did it. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I want to make sure we never do that again.
okay. So it's not a great idea putting them at the back of curb. I mean, so we're probably better off just eliminating them in the future. If you remember before, we had the light poles that were right up against the curb, and then everybody shied away from that, even so traffic was being crowded. This would be the same type of thing. I think they would get hit fairly often.
And that's a street design problem.
It is.
If people are hitting things on the sides, that's a problem with the street. And that's one of the reasons I strongly believe Porter, we need to do the 3 lanes on it. Because then that would provide the buffer, or at least a little bit, between the sidewalk and the traffic, like we see now on Boyd Street, which has been great, by the way. And Councilmember Grant?
I would just add that a road diet on Porter would be supported by the surrounding neighborhoods. They want a lot more walkability, and they love the changes, but see opportunities for traffic not being so overbearing on their ability to cross and all that.
I think that, and that's all up for discussion for sure, but I think the traffic volumes are really at a stage where it would be hard to 3-lane that and give us a reasonable level of service, but I realize you're considering everything.
And remember, when we did James Garner, we wanted to see what the impacts would be on flood in Porter. We're getting close to that. I think that we're about to normalize what James Garner looks like. So I think we probably need to do another study, and we can take a look at that again. And I think that one of the other things we have to consider here is that we were trying to work within the existing right-of-way. And we really didn't have the money, and we couldn't have gone out and bought the right-of-way to move the sidewalk up to the door fronts and then have parking like we do on Main Street. That would have been a very difficult, and the problem is we didn't have that all the way through the corridor. So we would have had this in and out, in and no parking, and it would have been a very awkward situation. So what we tasked everybody with was to come up with a way that we could get ADA sidewalks in a very confined, urbanized space to the best applicable way we could. And I actually think our designers and our team, for what they came up with what we had, I was really shocked we were able to get what we got. And also want to state that the only reason the planners are even there is because we had huge public outcry that we were not putting in enough green space. And it's very hard to put in green space where there is nowhere to put in green space. I mean, we would have been buying people's parking lots, and then we would have been starting getting into takings, and it would have been a very ugly situation. So that was our attempt, working with multiple people and citizens, and we had public meetings on this, and that was the number one thing we got, is you're not doing enough green space, and if you don't, it's not a walkable environment. And we said, well, the best we do is planners. Everybody goes, yeah, go do planners. So those could be removed.
Yeah.
I
think
I'm not married to them.
Yeah, some of them are gonna
But-
have to be removed because they are
We
creating a
understand.
spot in an area. But I will just tell you, there was already a sidewalk in front of Friendly Market in that whole strip mall, and now there's two sidewalks. And the one that's out front is got parking and then the sidewalk and then the busy
I
street.
understand,
And
sir.
so that is a problem to me, that why is there two sidewalks?
But the
when
problem,
there
that
was already one
sidewalk
there?
was part of the building.
Right,
And
so-
outside of right-of-way.
Right, but you
And
work
so
with.
we didn't have, that's what I'm saying is, then, but a block over, we didn't have that. And it was very awkward. And so that's kind of where, I'm not saying this is the best design. I'm not, that's not the argument I'm trying to make. What I'm saying is, we were given constraints and we designed within that.
Right. On that section though, there is a drive lane between the two sidewalks. And now if you're in a wheelchair, to get to the signal, to press it to crosswalk, you have to go into the street on Eufaula. Because it doesn't connect anymore. It used to when it was a whole corner, but now there is a sidewalk, a drive for parallel parking, and then another sidewalk. The sidewalk that's in front of the businesses, to get from the business to the crosswalk, you have to roll out into Eufaula, the intersection there now, because there's a solid curb. And so things like that, where we got rid of the angled parking because we wanted to allow traffic to move faster and better through that area. And we did that, but now we have two sidewalks in front of the one building. And one of them is very narrow and it's next to a busy street and it has parallel parking on the other side. So the people are buffering the traffic from the parking, which is backwards to me. And watching it every day, the lack of a center left turn lane on Porter and all of the cars stopping and trying to turn left with no left arrow, no left turn lane, really causes a lot of issues on Porter every day. And we see the people trying to swerve to go around them and it backs up. And so that's why I've just been so adamant about this for years, is that the four lane configuration does not work. And it makes it hard to walk across Porter from downtown. We're trying to go over to Stash and all those businesses over there. Porter acts as a barrier for downtown Norman in its current configuration. And so honestly, I want it to be 3 lanes with
And
the center
like I said,
left turn lane.
We're willing to study that.
And do it, like regardless of what that says, we should do it because that's what people are asking us for. And it's what would make it better, in my opinion. It may not make it better for every car that's trying to speed through downtown Norman, but it will help the Highland Dairy trucks turn left by having a dedicated left turn lane and a left arrow that they don't have right now. And it would make it safer for people walking on these narrow sidewalks if traffic isn't going by as fast. And I've just been watching it for 7 years now from the front row on Porter. And that's just my observation of it. And again, it is so much better than it was before when it comes to ADA access and the ramps and the lighting. And it looks a lot nicer, but those are a few of the issues I've seen with it. And when I look at the design, it's from 2008. when it was still designated as a State Highway 77. And I know the idea would be, it's a state highway, we need to be able to move traffic north and south as quickly as possible. And so it made sense, let's eliminate street parking, let's have a solid curb, and it makes it easier so there's less conflict, but, but I just think that's the last missing piece to this, to Porter.
And we're happy to look at it, but, our concern is if we decrease the traffic here, that traffic's gonna go somewhere, and we don't want that in the neighborhoods. So we've got that balance.
Sure.
You can't say less cars are gonna travel, but where are they gonna go? We gotta figure out, that's part of what we're concerned with, but we're happy to study it.
Well, I think.
And
yeah.
we've agreed, there's other locations in town where
Yeah.
we've proposed to go from 4-lane to 3-lane and been absolutely shut down.
Right.
So, and there's other areas where it's been requested, we've looked at it, we've said, absolutely, that's a great idea, and we've done it. So I think we've got a track record here of not fighting on this and trying to do it and being respectful to it, so
Except
we're
for
happy
this
to study
one,
it.
this was the one for years, it's been constant pushback, I'll just say. I know we've been talking about waiting for James Garner, but James Garner is open, and it's going, and it's gotten busier and busier, and we've been saying we're gonna wait for a really long time, and now we've done the streetscape, we've got businesses on the other side of Porter to the east that are flourishing, Art Walk is doing really well, and Porter is just this thing in the middle of downtown that is hard to cross, and the Highland trucks trying to turn left all the time, the buses now trying to turn on there. It's just, that's what
We'll discuss it with our transportation group and have perform a new study and see what it looks like.
Okay, Councilmember Grant?
I'll just say whenever you're wondering where the traffic's gonna go in the neighborhood, I'm gonna put Finley on your radar. That is the one that I see. Once they get past the 4-way on Main and Finley, they're speeding either side of it, mostly going east towards Alameda. So, anyway, that was just my input on that.
Yes.
I pretty much exclusively take Finley when I'm.
And you
I
got the
take-
light at Robinson, so you
I
can,
take Finley all the time.
but yes,
That's my
thank
go-to
you.
street. That's how I always went to Porter to work every day, Finley.
Just drive slow in the neighborhoods.
I can't promise I did that, but I will in the future.
This is the Main Street median maintenance project. It's not necessarily looking at the streetscape, but, looking at our medians where we currently have, Bermuda sod and some trees, and some smaller planting areas. We're hoping to move towards something more like this new median that we've done that's really using native plants that are heat and drought tolerant and low water use. Boulders and stone mulch for more durable landscape. We're not having to mow and weed whip and really trying to reduce the need for herbicide and irrigation.
Councilmember Grant?
I really love the heat and drought tolerant native plants. I was just gonna ask, where does milkweed fit into an option for planting because of thinking about the monarchs and supporting?
Yeah. I think
Are they pretty heat and drought tolerant plants as well?
it
or
depends on the
different?
variety.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's some prairie milkweeds that are really good. And I think, just jumping ahead really quickly to this slide that shows the Porter streetscape plantings, like I think plantings like this, milkweed would be great in there. I think on the Main Street median, we were really trying to go for easy
Less
maintenance. Like it's not high maintenance, but it requires a special knowledge to maintain it. You can't just go and spray something or mow it all down. So, I definitely see like lots of pollinator plantings in these kinds of areas, and that's really important to me too. So even the stuff on the Main Street median, I chose a lot of it for, pollinator and habitat.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was just ask if we could throw some pretty milkweeds that will survive in there.
Yeah.
That would be my only suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think it looks a lot nicer on Main Street, and then the bridge project and redoing the sidewalks on both sides, of course, a vast improvement for that section. Councilmember Gansberry.
Thing I like about the Main Street also is having some of the rocks and stuff put in there also, the boulders and everything. I would like to hear from the police and everything, but I bet that probably helps a lot with when a wreck happens and going across lanes and everything by having those boulders there to help slow down certain wrecks and things like that as well, which just helps out with our safety on the other, opposite side wrecks and stuff like that also.
We did think about that, and also there's a lot of crossings here, kind of in the middle, so.
Get somebody somewhere to rest.
I was
if
gonna
they needed
mention
to.
the one there in front of Penn there, that
Yeah.
where really you're supposed to go past each other in turn, but it's uncomfortable, so a lot of people don't do it. And so I know it is a streetscape thing, but I didn't know if we had any plans or ideas to address that at some point, that situation. Especially now if there's a coffee drive-through, another coffee, they're on both sides now.
It's not on our radar right now, but, yeah, we definitely realize.
It's one of
it.
those things that I think all of us have navigated one or two
At
times.
some time.
Especially when it was Hastings in there, but.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so just reiterating, like using native plants that are drought tolerant, low water use and pollinator friendly, reducing the need for mowing and herbicide use, and then Tim kind of mentioned the community buy-in for maintenance and care, and just, I think, putting in new landscapes that are, are pretty, could potentially encourage people and business owners to then care more for what's happening in front of their business or their home, or if they're walking and they see some trash, pick it up and, encourage people to care a little bit more.
Do we get any community groups that reach out about maintaining an area?
Not particularly. I know that we have adopted streets, but these are mainly parks guys or our contractor that goes through there and picks it up. But we're very grateful for anybody that walks by and picks up trash, or we'll gladly work with any volunteer group that wants to go out there and volunteer to clean up our pool.
Curious if you got fraternities, sororities, church groups, anybody, or even the Sierra Club for Norman, Red Earth Group.
No,
Anybody's reached out.
we haven't got
Okay.
anything
Boy Scouts and
along
Girl Scouts
roadways or anything like
groups
that,
too.
but.
They
Sometimes
can
in
do
parks,
badges.
but not really in medians,
They
we
can
never
do
have been
on
approached
board.
about doing traffic.
Or even along
islands or
downtown?
streets, yeah, we haven't been
Yeah.
approached, usually it's a park, it's like, hey, we want to go to this park, and
Gotcha.
that's what we usually get.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
We also have a street tree ordinance in development. I think you're probably familiar with that. It was presented to the city council. Looking at a historical tree district, preserve the tree canopy, the large tree canopy that exists in some of our larger or our older neighborhoods. Promoting and maintaining street trees, and then establishing a commercial tree district that will allow the city to maintain the long-term health of trees in our commercial districts.
And Scott, do you know, as part of the James Garner this probably might be for when James Garner Main Street is redone at some point. Would that driveway right there be closed, do you know, in front of?
No.
Okay.
No, that drive, because that's their parking, so that's not part of it that would be retained.
And the reason I just bring that up is thinking about any opportunities to extend the street parking where because one of the things I've noticed on Gray Street is that we're not able to do some street parking on several sections because there's so many driveway entrances. And it's like, if that parking lot just had one driveway entrance, we could add 10 more street parking spots.
Or if they access, unfortunately, so many of those, they're that way, and if we don't have a lot of leeway to be able to take away their access in that way, and a lot of them are one-way parking.
That's the only way in,
You couldn't get it, or even if they do have an alley, you can't, it's not wide enough to be able to park, so you gotta be able to pull through all the way. It was hard, we really tried to work on that. Another thing that we found is in Norman, I don't know, but a driveway is like gold.
Yeah. If you
And
got
do
one,
not
nobody
give it
wants
up,
to get
no
rid
matter
of it.
what, don't ever give up a drive. So it's hard to get people to do that. But certainly, I think as we would see redevelopment, we take those opportunities, much like we are in the Center City District, where we're seeing when things are developed, we're creating on-street parking where we can or where the developer wants to take advantage of that. And if we saw redevelopment through this corridor, we could do the same thing.
Almost done. Just a few slides with inspiration for streetscape designs, and, you know, we're not saying everything is what we want to do, what we're going to do, just some elements, you know, here you see that planted vegetative buffer. And then that large crosswalk really indicates like, hey, there's humans crossing here. Again, that planted buffer, and then using different paving options for pedestrians versus vehicular traffic. Similar idea here with the planted buffer. Here, the expanded tree wells are really nice. They allow for more habitat diversity, more green space, and then also longer life for the street tree. Here, it's really nice because you've got, and this is, you know, kind of, can't do this in many places, but, you know, pedestrian areas, planted street trees, cyclists, you know, more pedestrian area, and then more of a planted buffer. So
I guess the last thing we want to talk about is basically ideas for funding future streetscape improvements. One thing that Parks has been talking about is a dedicated capital funding, kind of like we do for sidewalks today. Maybe put X amount of dollars per year towards these type of things to help improve the looks of Norman in various capacities. Of course, Norman Forward 2 is coming up. That might be an option. You have a % of artwork in Norman Forward 1, maybe a % for streetscapes or something, you know.
That example's from the Center City, if I recall.
Right. I was gonna mention that, but yes.
Center City too.
Everybody that's been in the Center City Committee has seen some of these renderings. It's kind of what we're looking at for the intersections. Basically, kind of bump outs, like Mayor Holman mentioned, just to shorten the walking space between for the pedestrians, and then it allows parking on the outside edges.
Councilmember Grant.
I would say with the Center City example on the bottom with the typical corner treatment, I really love those half walls. I see it as a place for people to like meet up, you know, before they go walking to their next location. So really love that example.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we like about this intersection. So future transportation bonds, we definitely could work in more streetscape projects as a part of that. Private partnerships, I know a limited amount of people have come forward offering to donate X amount of dollars. So that would be good. And if they're paying for it, maybe they'd be willing to help maintain it just to have it keep nicer. Of course, there's always various grants you can go after, and then TIF districts, just like Center City, where it's generating, is it 47 million? I think somewhere around there. It's like we generate, and it's not all for streetscape. I mean, there's infrastructure and other improvements as well.
25-year.
Yes.
Total, yes.
So I think that's really what we put together to present today, and I'm glad to entertain any other questions.
One was to get kind of the ball moving a little bit on North Flood between Acres and Robinson. And I mean, I kind of envision it as being able to kind of look like the Plaza District in OKC, where it's a 2-lane street, it has commercial on both sides of it, that has setbacks, has suburban setbacks, so thought maybe about some kind of overlay where they could do some more urban stuff, but having a plan for maybe the next enhancement bond package for North Flood, or if we can apply for a grant funding, but that section from Acres to Robinson, being able to redo the street, not widen it necessarily, maybe a turn lane if it's possible, but the lighting, the ADA sidewalks, being able to add street parking, angled street parking or parallel along that corridor. It's just as far as a streetscape section goes, and then maybe other work on what the buildings in the future could look like if there's redevelopment, that type of stuff. And so I was thinking about that part of North Flood and then the part of the Porter, just as we move forward down the road, if there's changes to Porter, even the idea of looking at the Porter corridor overlay and seeing it's been 15 plus years. Anything we need to update about that, anything that current property owners would like to see updated in that. Gray Street too, like if there are opportunities in the future to consolidate, I know staff has probably tried already, but if there are opportunities in the future to consolidate driveways and we could add more street parking along Gray Street. One that I was thinking about was our lot that we own across the street, that our single driveway into that lot means we can't put row of street parking right there. And I think our goal is to sell that lot for it to be developed into a building. And so I would envision there not being a curb cut there once we sell it. And so I really would like to get rid of it and put street parking along there.
I think you're correct, and probably as part of the development of that, we would require that to be closed, potentially, not definite, but that'd be a potential. And if we did, we'd put it upon that developer to develop that street parking across that frontage. So I think that's something that's very likely that would happen in that location.
Okay. Yeah.
But in other locations, like I said, as it becomes available, add it where we can.
Yeah, and if there's opportunities for us to do it, because who knows how long we'll own it, but if there's opportunities to close it and then do that street parking, that'd be great. Anything we can do to not rely so much on the surface parking lots, in my opinion. And then same thing with East Main Street from Porter to Finley, well, all the way to Griffin really at some point, but
12th.
Yeah, all the way to 12th really, but specifically the commercial section that we've seen so much private investment in, being able to get a streetscape at least designed and figure out how to fund it later, but because they had asked about the main street, and then Finley, and then the alleyway behind it too, that whole block. Councilmember Graham will have some comments about that. But those were the kind of main ones I've been thinking about, and flood primarily because it seems like the only commercial corridor we haven't really done anything to, and that I can think of, where there's been no improvements. So, Councilmember Graham?
Actually, Councilmember Hinkle has it. Just to add to the mayor's point on North Flood, that is in the TIF district master plan discussions, so I could see funding there. And same for East Downtown, especially between Porter and Finley. That was a discussion, obviously Griffin, further east. And to piggyback on the alley improvements and public parking improvements, there were requests for better sidewalks and possibly colorful sidewalks if we could get them. But again, all those were in potential TIF districts / project areas. We haven't created those yet.
Councilmember?
So yeah, I just want to also talk about the area of North Flood from Acres to Robinson. There's been a lot of private development that's happened, upgrades to the strip mall that's been there. New tenants are getting ready to start moving in there, but I would also like to see if we are going to look at something in that area. They've expressed some interest in the past about turning that into more of kind of an automobile district, since a lot of the businesses down there kind of fit that mold anyway. But also capturing Highland Parkway down to the back end of the library for university. Is that just, if we're gonna talk about making it, that probably is already the most urbanized street in Norman for what it is. But if we could capture that industrial park too and bring that back into James Garner, and that would be, I think that would really bring a lot to that area, because we've really diverted a lot of the traffic off of Flood for those businesses with James Garner. They're starting to feel it, so.
Yeah, I agree. I think that kind of identifying what that area is, but generally to the west behind the commercial businesses where the commercial and the residential, because we did have a rezoning last year on Highland Parkway on the edge of the residential and the commercial that we ended up approving, but I think it went back. And then he came back again after talking to the resident or the neighbors and stuff. We ended up approving it. He was just wanting to build a storage shed, I think it was, but just that question about commercial and being right up against the single family neighborhood. And so being able to identify sort of like what was done on Porter, where this is the commercial area, this is residential. And then those public improvements like on Highland Parkway and University and up and down through there. I was just at the Walden Cleaners yesterday, and it's like, oh, the sidewalk is sort of a sidewalk through here. But I think it has a lot of opportunity for the existing businesses. There's opportunity for there to be apartments and stuff in that area. And I think just if we can get a plan together for the streetscape part of it and then figure out how to fund that at some other point, that would be really helpful. And just again, I just keep thinking about the Plaza District and how that looks with the 2-lane street parking sidewalks. Could be like that. Anything else on that one from you guys?
I know Lisa Craig was looking at CDBG money for that East Main Street, but haven't heard much on that. We've given her estimates, so we could circle back and talk to her about that, I
You
guess.
mean the neighborhoods around there? Because there was a sidewalk inventory that was asked of original town site, First Courthouse, and Old Silk Stocking, and that was going to use CDB, her community development block grant funds, to fill in missing sidewalk or fix it if it was.
Well, I think this was, I'm not aware of with that specific project, but this was actually Main Street to the east in that business area to do upgrades through that segment.
Fingers crossed
That'd be
that
awesome.
happens.
That'd be awesome.
And there's, as you even continue going east on Main Street towards Griffin and what, there's multiple residential properties that have angled street parking in the right of way. And it's been there for a long time and it seems appropriate. And the Sarkees Foundation has the angled street parking too. So it's thinking about that extending all the way down to Griffin at some point. And then with those businesses just east of Porter, it's kind of one of those cases where normally I've seen where we go in and put in the sidewalk and redo the lights and make it look nice. We typically start to see the private investment come in after that. In this case, they've, redone all the buildings. It's almost, I think every space has got somebody in it. And it's all been organic and all on their own without public improvement, at least on the Main Street facing part. So we've been talking for a while about trying to at least get something on paper where we have a plan for that area going forward. Yeah.
I'll say, during the Porter negotiations, the owners of
Yeah.
that section really worked with us. They were one of the best groups to work with. They really seemed to be engaged in making it a better situation. And so it made it a lot easier on their property there on the corner
Yeah,
to be able to do things like what you were talking about earlier.
having that
There's a lot of-
the wide sidewalk in front of there and the patio at Maximilian's, I think, has been a big hit. So,
It's awesome.
okay, any other
I
comments?
want
or
to
questions?
piggyback on this
Yeah.
for a minute too. I do think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities that we can look at as we start looking at this. Personally, what I want to be able to do is, as we start moving forward, obviously not with our current transportation projects, but I want us to have a standard detail that is a tree well, where basically the water comes in off the curb, it goes into this tree well, and there's a way for that to help take some of the water away, and then maybe the inlets incorporate into that, and rain gardens like what we showed there on the edge of the, I'm excited about this type of opportunities. I can say that our department is forward thinking. James Garner actually is built opposite of a normal roadway to try to be more green, to try to get more opportunities to do things that are better for the environment. And, Parks helped us a lot with that. The doers helped us with that, pick and plant. I mean, it was a team effort that we really just said, we want to do something different with this roadway. But we're looking forward to trying to incorporate more of those type of items. We love having the green, landscape strip and our more urbanized areas. We think it's all good. We really support all those items and like to see those, especially in future bond projects, that be incorporated into the bond at the start towards part of the projects.
Yeah, and we got a ton of right of way that could have a tree or parking there. All right. Okay. All right, okay, we can move on to the next item, which is the Public Works grants update.
I just want to end on a high note. I just want to spend some time and tell you guys about all the great things that's been happening. I don't think anybody realizes because it happens incrementally and over time and in pieces. But we've been really successful in grants, and we've had a lot of really big success very recently. Just kind of some of the types of grants that we go for. Of course, we go up through the Federal Emergency Management, Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities, which is the BRIC grant. We think that's going away, so we may not be applying for those very much anymore, but we have in the past. Also the hazard mitigation grants. We've been successful in those. And then through Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, and the Department of Transportation, Safe Streets and Roads for All, which I'm going to talk about in detail in a minute. The Surface Transportation Block Grant Programs, that's the money we get from ACOG. So that's that funding we get all the time. We've been really successful with that again. Of course, the Federal Transit Administration, the FTA grants, that's helped us with our buses and our transit. And then the Bridge Investment Program. That's where we've worked with Absentee Shawnee Tribe, and they've been great partners. But it's taken a group effort. There's a lot of people that are involved in this, a lot of different departments. Staff does a great job. We have great partners in the county, other surrounding communities. Takes a big effort to get a lot of these done, and I'm going to try to share a little bit of that and how we've been able to be, how well we've been able to do with that. So when we say recent awards, I'm talking about since December 23rd. This is what we've been able to get. So SS4A is the Safe Streets for All. That's the $25 million for 36th Avenue Northwest. This is our first big federal grant that we've gotten on the transportation side. And kind of what we've heard is once you get one, you're probably going to keep getting more. You kind of prove you can do it, and you kind of get your name on the list. I honestly do think that the chamber trips and the work that the council members have done at DC on those fly-ins have definitely been a big input here. I think that's been a huge help. On this last application we did, we had letters from Tom Cole. We had letters from OTA, ODOT. We had the city of Moore. Oh, goodness, I can't even, if I try to name them all, I'm going to miss half of them. MSTAT, we went to anybody we thought could write us a letter. And, I don't think it hurt us at all to have the chair of the Appropriations Committee give us a letter. That may have been the final tag there, I'm not sure. But that is almost a $40 million project. It does start at Tecumseh Road. It goes all the way up to 34th Street and more. So it's 3 full miles, a little chunk in the middle that's taken out. That's the one that we were talking about. When we found out on Christmas Eve. One of our partners said, "Congratulations on your SS4A grant." And all of our hearts stopped and we all went searching, oh my gosh, we really got it. They sent the email after hours on the 23rd. I'm like, a federal agency sending after hours, that's bizarre. But it made for an exciting Christmas. And then through our ACOG applications, we got another over $16 million. That was all the first couple of weeks of January. So in a very short time frame, we found $41 million that we didn't know we were going to be able to expend. And this is furthering projects. We had to put this table together. We have so many projects that are underway or that we have grant funding for that we needed to track it. And I'm sure we're missing something. I have no doubt. But you can see here, when you add all this up, it's $84 million in grants. And these are projects either currently underway or that we have secured grant funding for. And this is really attributed to the team that goes out and chases these grants. Some of these we actually went out and we had consultants help us with. But you can see there at the top, those are those ACOG big projects, the Gray, the Jenkins. The newest ones to be added this year, they're FFY 29 projects. So we're out a ways, but that's Tecumseh, Flood, and 24 intersections, which is, I don't think anybody who travels that way doesn't think needs help today. And also Constitution, which is one of our 2019 bond programs. So
those, we just voted on those at ACOG this afternoon.
That's right. Thank you very much for, I heard it was a unanimous vote, which means I know you voted for them.
And Oklahoma City and Norman were the only ones that got, on this one anyway, And so she goes, congratulations, Oklahoma City and Norman, for getting all the money.
And
But
by,
everybody can apply.
Yeah.
Norman and OKC were just the ones.
we had very good applications this year, and we're very fortunate. This is better than we've done in a while. This used to be the norm. I will say also on the SS4A grant, there were only 2 recipients in the United States that got the full 25 million.
Oh, wow.
Norman, Oklahoma City. And I thought that was really unusual, and I'm very close friends, went to college with their public works director, and I'm like, hey, congratulations, and she did the same thing. What? So it's all just kind of feel that
We
way.
got the Tecumseh and flood 24th, that 7.5 million.
And that's max.
4.4 million, basically 4 million for the Constitution
Yes.
Street. We got 800,000 for a transit vehicle replacement, and we got STBGUZA safety projects. We got ADMS Phase 1, video detection upgrades Phase 5, reflectorized backplates Phase 4, pavement markings Phase 2, and the signal improvement project.
So-
And then we also, Acres and James Garner Roundabout.
That was
approved today.
that's a clean air grant.
Yep.
So
And
we
the,
actually applied.
Constitution Street lighting.
That's an $800,000 grant, over $800,000 for that project at an 80-20 split. I'm hoping that the project's actually smaller than that, but we went for everything we could get on that. But that's a clean air grant. So, but unfortunately, that is FY29 money again. But we will be working to where that first opportunity we have to bid that, we'll be able to bid it. We think that's gonna help a lot. We have a preliminary drawing, but we know it's gotta be moved, but that's how we decided we could actually
I
do
have
that.
to double check, but the thing they gave, handout they gave me shows FY 2026 AQG program recommendation project award list. And that is $815,000
Yeah.
for the roundabout, and then $158,000 for the Constitution Street path lighting project.
And that's an exciting project because we're actually gonna do solar lighting on that. So we're really trying to do better things or things differently, not the same way.
Councilmember Grant?
I know you said the roundabout is fiscal year 29. When is it going out to bid?
So that could be bid in October 28. But by the time, the neat part is Jason's not here. We're gonna steal land from him. For the right of way. We have no private right of way acquisition. The thing that had me very mindful of, and I don't want to get into a lot of details, but we can't infringe upon the park. So we have to move it north a little bit. But we're really excited about what fit there. We worked with Garver that did the work on James Garner because they had all the information and all the plans, and they sent us back and go, it works. And we think it'll be a great improvement over what's there today. We hear, we know, we understand. I drive it every day too.
Well,
It's
I was gonna say, I literally just heard from one of the worker owners at Gray Owl about it, and I was like, "Will you put in for a grant? Don't know if we're getting it." And that was earlier this week.
Check the box.
So yay.
Check the box.
Happy to tell folks. Well, is there a press release coming out about some of these awards for ACOG? Or
It's coming out in your weekly. We have a section on it in the weekly. We can certainly work with our comms and get that out. We'd be happy to.
I just think.
I wanted to share it here before I put it out
I think a
public.
bracket would be
No, no, no.
good.
No, I'm just asking. I'm happy to boost it when you get it together, but that is one that I've gotten so much feedback on, and I just want to be.
We do too. We do
say
too.
it's in the works.
We're excited. I think there's a lot of excitement. Our staff, while we're looking at it all going, "Whew, it's a lot to get done. We're also excited and we're ready for the challenges.
And then I had a question about the bridge investment program.
Yes.
That was the absentee Shawnee.
That's the absentee Shawnee for the Porter Street Bridge.
Um,
That's a $13.5 million
That's pretty
grant.
significant. So I'm thinking about what that means for the bond. We did $60 million bond, and what that means for, like, that's 13 million in savings.
Mhm.
How are we using that to help the
So
other
that has not
bridges?
been determined yet.
Okay.
But, the first option is we could always say, hey, we've got another bridge. We want to extend it to this bridge. We'd probably say, let's watch the program and make sure we don't continue to see really big inflation. This came in later inflation, so we're not as bad off as other programs. But definitely we're excited about that savings. It's going to be a great benefit to the program. So we could either add more structures, or there's also the option that you just use that and do early bond payoff. So the options are there, and that's something that we could be doing. We'll work closely with finance department, but no decisions will be made without council action with what to do with
I
that.
was gonna say, if memory serves, there were a specific set of bridges that would definitely be worked on or replaced.
Correct.
And then there was maybe a smaller list of potential ones that could be included. So it
Correct.
sounds like we might talk about paying off early and or maybe touching some of these other
Well, and so
structures.
what we did is we did, as bond counsel was explaining, you have to account for where 70% of the bond funds will be expended. We accounted for that 70%, and what we said is, this is what looks like will be the best fit for the other 30%, but we don't know. We could have a bridge failure, between now and then that we have to bump something ahead of it, and so we go, okay, these two fall off to make up the difference. That's why we left ourselves a little bit of wiggle room in there, which we haven't done in the past. That's a little different concept. But this is just extra, what do we need? What's the needs of our community? What fits it best? Yeah, these are the problems I enjoy. So, I don't stay awake at night with these problems. So, but absolutely, we're excited about that. Absentee Shawnee have been other great partners. I failed to mention them earlier, but that's been something that's very good for us too.
Thank you.
Now, we're not done. We got more in the hopper. We got more things we're looking at, more applications we're working on. The first one is better utilizing investment to leverage development or build grant application. The build grant, the notice of funding opportunity, if you ever hear us talk about NOFO, that's what that means. That one is out. We're actually currently working on that one. This will be the third time we've applied for that one, but we've gotten feedback from the federal government on you could have tweaked this and tweaked that. We're feeling pretty good about this one. We think there's a strong chance this would be for Cedar Lane Road and 36th Avenue Southeast. These are both 2019 bond program, and these were both supposed to be funded through other sources. They're not meeting the ACOG. This is a great way to get us in there. We're doing it as one project because they intersect each other. So what a great way to just take care of it all. But we're looking at a $17 million grant for $21 million worth of work. Great opportunity. We really are feeling pretty good. We're doing this one in-house, so we're not paying anyone to help us with this one. The next one is the Rural Surface Transportation Grant. This one is with the Absentee Shawnee Tribe. This is for 24th Avenue Northeast between Rock Creek and Tecumseh. This is one that we recently came back to council and requested to take it to a 3-lane from a 4-lane. So again, we do agree on a lot of these. We're excited about that. Another great opportunity. They have a grant writer that does those. They did say that we don't know that we can continue to carry the weight of paying them. It's not a large fee, and we're happy to pay that to see if we can get these grants. They have unlocked that treasure chest for us on Porter, so we know that they're successful. We're looking forward to that one. I don't know that NOFO is out. I think we're waiting for it to be able to jump into that. And then the last one is Federal State Partnership for Intercity Passenger Rail, or FSP grant. This is the one where we're looking at a planning grant for the Tecumseh grade separation. BNSF are being great partners here. They have brought in their consultant that writes these grants, and they are completely different from the other grants we write. You can't even put them in the same categories. And we're working with them, and they're paying for the consultant. And there's a chance that they will probably wind up helping us with the match funds on this one, because this is to their benefit too. This is a planning grant. So this is basically able to go through design and the NEPA, which is the environmental study, which you have to have for those, you have to have in advance. So we'll get that out in advance. We're submitting that in February. We've been working with them for several weeks. We're really excited about that opportunity too. So here's another $27 million in grants that we could get in the next 6 to 8 months if things go well. We talked a lot about the 36 Avenue Northwest grant and that SS4A grant, the Safe Streets for All. 2012 bond program, have not been able to get it funded. And that is probably one of the biggest banes of my existence since I've been here, is trying to get that one funded. Very excited to finally see a way to get that done. As I said, there's still a lot. We are at a point, we feel that we could have plans ready to go for July that could be bid at the same time as them. Unfortunately, we can't do anything until we have our project agreement with them, our grant agreement with them. And if we go out ahead of it, they can go, oh yeah, no money for you. So we are on, we're doing the environmental study for that one. You'll be seeing that coming very shortly, probably not on the next council meeting, not the 27th, but following in February, to go out and start that NEPA study, that environmental study, so that we can be ahead on that and get that ready to go. Because that could wind up being where we think that's going to be what's going to limit when we can start that project. But we're moving full speed ahead on all the plans, getting those done, excited to work with our partners and more. Again, I mentioned all the people who helped us get that grant, and I know I missed people, and I apologize for that, but the list was long. So a lot going on, a lot of excitement, a lot of internal discussions, a lot of putting teams together. So I really just wanted to come to you and just share with you guys what's been going on, especially the new grants. I wanted you to hear about that and just get that information.
I just wanted to say, I know we kind of beat you up in here from time to time, but you and your staff are highly appreciated. You do a good job.
I appreciate that. I give a lot of it to the staff and to our partners that we use, the consultants we work with. There's a lot of people that, you know, it kind of takes a village on these projects when you get them to this size, and it takes a lot of effort. And I appreciate it when we come to you as a council and ask for support, and you guys always back us and help us get the projects, keep the projects moving as necessary.
And just, it's a good example of the scale of cost of infrastructure.
Yes.
And that we got to be real creative about finding ways to get funding for it all. And I think also thinking about, you know, planning for ways where if we can't get it, if we can't rely on it, or if it takes 15 years to get it for a project after voters say yeah, you know. So it's really nice to have the ability to get that when we can.
And we're having discussions in-house about some things that we may change internally.
Yeah.
You know, talking about, you know, deferral program, it's great if we know a project's coming, that we can say, okay, instead of you building it and us tearing it out, why don't you just give us what you would pay for that? The problem is what the developers pay for, it's different than what we pay for it, and it never really covers the cost.
Yeah.
On projects, you know, there's been some where we've kind of speculated that it may be coming out. We may just say, instead of you giving us money, why don't you just build it? And then we can try to, it's hard to scab onto those. We did it on Porter, and it was very difficult, but we made it work.
Yeah, to have like everyone.
But we're looking at opportunities and options. Also, you know, I think that being more subjective with right-sizing roadways, you know, it doesn't have to be 4-lane. As soon as I got the 36 grant, I immediately got the email, great, you're gonna make that 5 lanes with turn lanes into every, turn lanes into everything. I went, no, as a matter of fact, we're not. So, you know, it was funny that and I had other people going, great, that's only gonna be 3 lanes, right? I had both ends come in about a week. So, you know, we're trying to balance and find what works best for the community and how we can get projects completed.
I think East Alameda was originally 4 lanes, but it's 3. And then North 24th was gonna be 4, and it's 3.
48th
48th
between
as well.
Robinson and Rock Creek, we came in, we're actually gonna maintain 2-lane in some areas because there's no driveways.
And it's a flood.
Why have turns where there's no drives?
Councilman Gansby.
Also want to tell you, and Chris, with your people out there these next 3-4 days and everything like that, tell them a thank you in advance for all the hard work, the late hours, all that stuff that they're going to be out there doing in this cold and everything else. And it's very, very highly appreciated by the city that we can count on such a group to be able to get that done for us.
Yeah, Streets and Stormwater will be going to 24 hours operations starting tomorrow morning. We'll be on it until it's over.
Full steam ahead.
Any other comments, questions, grants, anything else? Nothing? Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it, staff.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yay to us for getting
This
those
meeting is
grants.
adjourned. Be careful.
When we